games on Krack.
What up, though? It's your boy Krack Diesel, aka the GOK Don Dada, and I have a new segment for all of you. It is called Late Pass. Late Pass is all about games I discovered on Game Pass that I will recommend to you, my fellow gamer. Disclaimer. Due to the passage of time, ain't no telling if what I'm reviewing is still actually on Game Pass, but I played it on Game Pass, so the earlier you see it, the better chance you have to play it as well on Game Pass. And look, your boy was late to this one. I was very, very late. But no time like the present. The Yakuza series has been around since 2005, but surprisingly, I've never played one entry of the game. And after finishing Yakuza 0, I have absolutely no idea how I never played even one of these games. It has all the things I truly love in video games: an excellent story, dope characters, engrossing world building, engaging mini games, and last but not least, a lot of ass whipping. And lots of ways to whip ass. It's altogether 8 different fighting styles to master. Combat is pretty straightforward, but it gives you many options to tailor your fighting style to your liking. If you play any beat 'em up in the past, you'll for sure be able to pick up the controls and learn the nuances of the heat gauge, which allows for some over-the-top, homie should probably be dead right now type moves. In addition to that, there's a vast selection of weapons, from motorcycles to fish. Yeah, there's different type of fish weapons that you can use to beat the hell out of local drunks, rival Yakuza members, and various goons around the fictional districts of Kamurocho and Sotenbori. What Sega and Ryuga Gotoku Studio does with Yakuza is balance moments of visceral violence with times of levity and really whimsical sub-stories and minigames. There's really nothing like it even 16 years after its debut as a series. The game takes you back to a simpler time in Japan. The year is 1988. The main characters Kiryu Kazuma and Goro Majima are both complex characters, both carrying baggage from their time with their respective Yakuza families. They're far from one-note characters, and one of the best parts of Yakuza is learning more about the characters' past while watching them evolve during their stories in-game. I'll save you a thorough description of the story though, as these moments are left best to discover for yourself. It's a lot of gangster shit, Yakuza politics, double crosses, crazy reveals, and epic battles. It's everything you'd expect from your favorite TV drama. Sega must have known this, as well as each chapter begins with a previously on Power type intro recapping everything that's happened to the main characters. This may be repetitive for some folks, but I appreciate it, especially in times where I hadn't played the game for more than a few days. The game does a good job of balancing optional sub-stories with the main storyline while you roam the streets of Sotenbori and Kamurocho. I enjoyed the freedom of being able to engage in sub-stories, mini-games, and the main story at my leisure. Some sub-stories will lead to really significant rewards too, so go everywhere and try everything. You never really know what's going to happen in this game. I ended up putting 70 or so hours into the game, most of it outside the main campaign. I think it's important I highlight how good and addictive some of these mini games are. There's tons of things to do, from arcades to an underground fighting ring, but the mini games associated with the business storylines for Majima's cabaret club and Kiryu's real estate businesses were hard to put down, and the incentive for money for combat upgrades and items were hard to pass up. I also found myself customizing and racing at Kamurocho's Pocket Circuit Stadium for hours. Pocket Circuit Racing is Yakuza's take on RC racing. I just couldn't stop playing it. You have no control over the driving during the races outside of boost, but attempting to put together the perfect kit while factoring in acceleration, speed, balance, and even the type of battery was a great time. This too also puts you in the middle of another entertaining storyline that you wouldn't expect in a game named after the Japanese crime syndicate. The voice acting and script for the most part is excellent, and I don't think enough credit is ever given to the localization teams when mentioning things like this. Yakuza is a very Japanese game, but it's definitely put in a package for my American ass to understand everything that's going on. If you're used to subs on anime or even foreign films, you'll be right at home. It's definitely more campy and corny parts in the sub stories, but it's usually done in a very self-aware way, and it's obviously done for parody. I mean, there's a version of Steven Spielberg and Michael Jackson in the game. It obviously doesn't take itself too seriously. It's kind of part of the charm of Yakuza. The sound design across the board is good. Songs you'll dance to at discos or sing along to in karaoke bars are very 80s in all the best ways. Music and combat changes depending on fighting style and foe, and let me keep it real, this boss battle music is the shit. It's some top tier boss battle music, which just cannot be slept on. Weapons sound absolutely brutal when used, and when beating ass, your enemies will sound like they're in pure pain, which is just delightful. Ain't nothing like breaking an entire motorcycle or moped over the body of a down drunk. So this late pass review has been quite positive, and that's because Yakuza 0 has genuinely entered the stratosphere of my favorite games in the past 10 years. But it's not perfect by any means. The biggest flaw of the game is probably the graphics. There's a clear distinction that many gamers are used to between the graphical fidelity of the main characters compared to NPCs, but it's highly noticeable on what is now a 6-year-old game. Some of these character models are just bad, and there's much to be desired in variety. Textures are for sure inconsistent, and they range from decent to just horrible. It's probably a credit to Yakuza 0 that it didn't ruin my experience, but I gotta keep it real. It's not like it looked like a PS3 game, but it ain't too far off sometimes. Combat was also fun to me, but it can border on repetitive at times. There aren't many enemy types that require you to switch fighting styles, so there's definitely a lack of strategy for more seasoned players in the beat 'em up or action genre. There's also certain quality of life features that do not exist, which may annoy some players as well. Things like unskippable scenes and save points instead of auto and manual saves were just things I had to just grin and bear. It ain't perfect, but it's a damn good time, and GOK highly recommends you check this game out on Xbox Game Pass, if possible. I am now a Yakuza lifer. Give me a late pass!